Second example, this is a bacteria growth example that appears on your textbook on page 327. And it says something about a fellow that's got a model. This has already been given to us, and it's 5, 1.2 to the power t over 2, right? So this is the equation, 5 times 1.2, bracket, bracket, t to the over 2. So what do those numbers mean? And what I ask people in class is, okay, let's make sure that you know how to fill in the table of values. So the first number is pretty easy. Because t is equal to 0, right? So 1.2 to the power of 0, everything to the power of 0 is equal to 1. 1 times 5 is 5. So first number is 5. Be there. And the next number, okay, it'd be like 5 times 1.2. Then actually, I'm going to pick 2 because 2 will be easier. 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. 1.2 times 5. Actually, I don't know what that is. So 5 times 1.2 gives us 6. So for 2, it's going to be 6. And we keep on plugging in and plugging in the numbers. And then we're going to try to figure out what these numbers mean. Now, there's two parts to this example. One is like figuring out what the 5, the 1.2, and the 2 mean, which we're going to talk about in a sec. And the other one is make sure that you know how to plug this into your calculator, which for some of you is going to be more challenging than you think. So here are the answers, but don't just copy them down. Just make sure that you understand how to plug it in. The biggest key of plugging things in all at once is that you put, I'll make this on red and a little bit thinner, brackets around the exponent when you plug it in. So you would type something like, let's say when I get 6. So I would say 5 bracket 1.2 bracket to the power of. Now to the power of button, it's different in different calculators, so make sure you find yours. I'm going to open bracket and then t minus, sometimes I want to say 6 divided by 2. 6 divided by 2. You know, I enter, and that's 8.64, which is what we had over here. Now the cool thing about this is that now I can go back. If I use this button here, I go back to the 6 and I change that to, let's say, to a 9. So I don't have to re-plug it in the whole formula. I can just get it over and over. And now I get 11.35, and a 9 was 11.36, which is 35, and the number's the 7, so it rounds up to 36. Okay, so plug it in the calculator, one part, but the more important part is like, what do the parts mean? Okay, let's go with this. 5, where do you see the 5? The 5 is right there. So it seems like a 5 is our starting number, which makes sense because we did it in our head. Like when t is 0, that's the very, very beginning, this becomes 1. So that's just 1. Now for now, but it's going to change in the next example, 5 seems to be the starting value. 5 seems to be the starting value. 1.2. What does 1.2 actually mean? Okay, if you remember, 1 was 100%. What does 1.2 actually mean? Oh, that's 120%, which means that this 1.2 represents a 20% growth. If my base is, I'm going to go higher up. If my base is 1.05, that represents a 5% growth. If my base is 1.29, that represents a 29% growth. But what happens when it goes the other way around? So if it's 0.8, well, that number is 80%, but that means that the drop is 20%. Okay, so it dropped 20% because I started at 100 and I went down to 80. So this is a drop of 20%. If it says 0.1, oh, that's a drop of 90% because I went from 100% to 10%. If it's 0.92, then that's a drop of 8% because I went from 100 to 92. And this is, again, it's going up by 5%. This is going up by 29%, etc., etc. So you get the idea. So that's the starting value for now. That gives us the growth or decay. That's bigger than 1, so that's 20% more than 1. That's why this is going up. And then what about this divided by 2? That's like the one that tells us how often this happens. So every 2, this time, I'm not sure, it must be in hours. every 2 hours, or days, whatever it is, let's say it's hours. Every 2 hours, this starting value increases by 20%. Okay, so my starting value of 5 increases by 20% every 2 hours. And that's how we set it up. Say it one more time. My starting value of 5 increases by 20% every 2 hours.